Welcome to my horde, I'm Labby Dragon, and today I want to share with you the episode of Winnie the Pooh that has been living in my head rent-free for decades. It all started with this tape that I had. I do not have a memory of when this tape came into my life, nor do I remember the very first time I watched it. For me, the tape might as well have been imprinted on my brain when I was born. But I do remember watching it over and over throughout time. In fact, I was still popping this tape in up to my teen years just for nostalgia. Nostalgia that endures despite the fact that on that tape lives the most infuriating episode of any run of Winnie the Pooh I have ever seen. I have early memories of hating this episode, and honestly, as I got older, I discovered new reasons to hate it. And I've come to the conclusion that it is time for me to dredge up this grudge to present on YouTube. So this a-hole is Gopher's grandpappy, and let me tell you why he's the worst. The episode of The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, titled To Dream the Impossible Scheme, begins with Gopher being a menace in Rabbit's garden, which is a recurring gag in the show. Gopher ends up telling Rabbit his grandpappy, a master builder, is coming to visit, and in order to win a pewter pickaxe award, they're going to build an underground city above the ground, right here near Rabbit's prized rutabaga potato. Rutabaga potato. Rabbit quickly surmises that he needs to stop this city from being built and hatches a plan to distract Grandpappy. Well, Grandpappy arrives the next day and Gopher excitedly grabs the blueprints from his suitcase and is like, well, let's get started. But Rabbit suggests Grandpappy needs a rest after traveling, which is, reasonable, and Grandpappy says, yup, because he only ever says yup or no. And he walks away from Gopher with everyone else. Later, Gopher finds Grandpappy fishing with Pooh and Piglet and tries to get Grandpappy to come start building the city with him, but this POS goes off on a picnic with Tigger instead. That evening, Gopher tries to get Grandpappy to come build with him one more time, but Grandpappy just says nope and goes to sleep. Grandpappy is staying over at Rabbit's house, by the way, not Gopher's, because Rabbit convinced him to stay over so he could try to make sure that Grandpappy doesn't build the city. And I guess Grandpappy hates his grandson enough that he's not even staying with him overnight. Gopher finally has enough and is like, I am not letting Grandpappy's dream get away. I am building this above the ground city. So everyone wakes up to construction noises and Grandpappy is missing. Rabbit sets off looking for him frantically, but of course, Grandpappy's not involved in the construction. He's off gathering honey with Pooh. Goodness knows why. They all go and they find Gopher finishing the city up, but just moments after he finishes, the whole thing collapses. And Gopher worries that his Grandpappy is disappointed in him, but Grandpappy says, nope. And finally, this grade A jerk explains that he knew the plans for the city would never work. And that if he actually built it, he just wouldn't have anything to dream about anymore. Which, if he'd just said that from the beginning, there would be no lesson to learn here. But it's absolutely presented like Gopher is the one learning something, instead of Grandpappy learning to just fucking communicate. Gopher comes to the conclusion that some people are doers and some people are just dreamers. I don't love that dichotomy because it doesn't recognize that people hold both concepts within themselves. I mean, Gopher didn't get the impression that his Grandpappy is a master builder from nowhere. The guy must have made things in the past, and therefore it's reasonable that Gopher didn't know this one thing was just a fantasy and not a goal. Also, having one impossible dream does not preclude someone from being a doer. I get that it's an 11-minute segment of a show for babies, so they can't exactly get all the nuance in there, but I just don't like how easily the lesson can be misinterpreted. Because I certainly didn't quite get it as a child. All I could think about was how Grandpappy had never been honest with Gopher and had spent all his time avoiding him when he had specifically come to visit Gopher, and Gopher just wanted to spend time doing something he thought they both loved and could bond over. And nobody tells Grandpappy that he hurt Gopher's feelings and was wrong to hide his own feelings from him. And that's why I think this episode is such hot garbage. After this reconciliation about Gopher needing to accept that Grandpappy is simply just a dreamer, Piglet suggests they combine their doing and their dreaming to make the city work. Which I would argue was what Gopher was trying to do all along, even if he didn't quite know it. But suddenly, because Piglet says it as if it's another lesson to be learned, Grandpappy is like, hey, yeah, that could work. Let's demolish Rabbit's garden after all. And just to wrap up Rabbit's storyline, they end up saying that they will save the rutabaga potato because it ends up flowering right as they're talking about demolishing the garden, and Grandpappy says he reckons that a city needs flowers. End of episode. All I'm saying is, if Gopher's Grandpappy has no haters, I'm dead. I'm fairly certain that this is the first and only appearance of Grandpappy, and thank goodness, because none of us need more men of few words in our life, not even characters in kids' cartoons. Like, if you don't want to build the fucking thing, just forget the blueprints at home or something. If you really can't stand to speak one full sentence to your grandson. I've been mad about this for pretty much my entire life. It's a core memory. It is a personality trait at this point. If they ever brought Grandpappy back to the franchise, I would stand outside of Disney with a fucking picket sign. Alright, that concludes the rant I wanted to go on today. If you're entertained by my inane ramblings, there's tons more on this channel, and there are plenty of more little nitpicks to come in the future, so a little like and subscribe can tell the algorithm that you want to see those videos, and I will see you treasures next time.